Hey, it's Irreverent Aegis here, and in this video, I'm going to show you the tanking perspective for the Trifecta achievement in Veteran the Cauldron. So again, we're going for the no death, the speedrun, and the hard mode, all in the same attempt. As this video progresses, I will speed through these trash ad pulls, but for now, I want to point out a couple of things that I'm doing as the tank. I am wearing very specific sets for this dungeon, one, because they're super fun, and two, because they're very effective on the final boss. The first is my monster helm. It's in Crotty's Behemoth set, which increases flame damage. See that big circle around me? I have a flame enchant on my front bar, and anytime you do flame damage within Crotty's, you decrease the flame damage that a group takes by 5%, as well as increase the flame damage your group does by 5%. So that's super useful. The other things, and this is where this gets really fun, I am wearing Arcasis, as well as the other set, Drake's Rush. So the ultimate generation for the group is insane. I can pop a potion with Arcasis every 30 seconds because I'm running 2 potion cooldown enchants infused on purple jewelry. So I can give everybody over 40 ultimate every 30 seconds when I pop a potion. Then I'm also wearing Drake's Rush, which is every time I bash, we get 12 seconds of major heroism for the group, giving everyone 3 ultimate every 1.5 seconds for that 12 seconds. And then there's a 6-second cooldown before I can proc it again. So basically what you'll see, if you watch our ultimate numbers in this fight, they go up incredibly quickly. So we're on the first boss, Oxblood the Depraved, and I'll explain the important things that happen in this fight that we need to pay attention to when you're going for the no death. Whether you're doing a 3 DPS strategy or a 2 DPS and a healer strategy like we're doing here, this boss is pretty straightforward. He has a range of light attacks that don't do a whole lot. He has an attack where he turns around and it looks like he farts on you. You just need to step out of that. Honestly, it doesn't hurt that much as the tank, but if you're telling your group what to do, they should stay out of those. He's also going to put a bunch of blobs around the outside, and if you really care, you can kill the blobs as they come in. It's best to just let them die in the cleave, honestly. If one of the blobs reaches him, he does something like he eats it, and then he shoots out an AoE to the group. Again, not that big of a deal. You can just block through it. And then he does this thing where he puts an orb on somebody. You just saw that green ball around one of our players. That's just one of those things where you need to break the green ball before it kills somebody. And then we can interrupt when he starts bashing himself. And that's pretty much it. If you have a good group, this boss is going to die really before anything happens, so there's not a whole lot to worry about. The second boss is really the only boss before the final hard mode that really poses a major threat to even a well-coordinated team. And even then, really the only important thing is that somebody or a couple people have on ranged interrupts. So if somebody's spamming Crushing Shock as they're spammable, that's a really good bet. So you see that large AoE that she put on the ground? That just needs to be roll dodged out of. If you're the tank, you don't even need to roll dodge out of it, you just need to leave that area. If you stay in there for a couple of seconds, you'll probably die. The heavy attack that she does that needs to be interrupted, it looks like she has Lightning Staff, and she'll just, there it is. You'll see that she just attacks somebody with it. If she pulls off the entire heavy attack, it is a one-shot on whoever it is, so it is going to kill them pretty quickly. Other than that, there are ads that spawn on the outside. We honestly just ignore them. I kind of try to chain them in, but I honestly don't try that hard to chain them in. It's really just getting that interrupt and the group staying out of the lightning puddles. Again, that interrupt is the most important thing, and staying out of that attack right there. Other than that, again, a pretty straightforward fight with not a whole lot going on if you have a pretty coordinated group, as I'm sure you do if you're going for this trifecta. The third boss, the Molten Guardian, is a boss that doesn't really pose that much of a threat to anybody in your group. A couple of attacks that he does, he puts fire everywhere, not that big of a deal to avoid. His heavy attack where he puts the molten lava on the ground, you can just block that. It doesn't hurt that much, and then just get out of the lava. He does a frontal conal that doesn't really hurt that much either, even for DPS, so even if you don't face him the right way as the tank, still not going to do that much damage. And then he has an attack where he puts his fist in the ground and he needs to be interrupted. That attack should be interrupted, but it's easy to see, it's telegraphed, and the tank is usually right next to him to get the interrupt. That big AoE circle that we just witnessed, even for DPS that aren't in there, they can just block it and survive, or they can roll dodge out of it. So again, not much of a threat. When he does teleport, he'll summon 2 little minis with him, but that doesn't really do much. If you have good DPS, you'll just burn the boss and he'll die just like that. Again, you can ignore most of the mechanics just by having decent DPS in the group. This fourth boss fight, which you can't really even call a boss fight since there's no boss, it's just a series of ad waves with a couple of priority targets each, is fairly lengthy and fairly boring. So that's why I'm playing it back at 2.5 times speed. Otherwise, it's going to be boring watching this fight. Feel free to skip ahead if you don't want to watch this part. But anyway, every time you break one of the lightning orbs on the outside, you get an ad wave. If you break 2 lightning orbs at the same time, you get double the ads. So if you want to play it safe and not get 2 ad pulls at the same time, by all means, just do it one at a time. The speed component of the Trifecta is almost insultingly easy to get for the Trifecta, so you can take your time on any of the bosses and still have plenty of time to spare. We completed this with a healer in our group, mind you, in 20 minutes or so total, and you have 35 minutes to complete the Trifecta. So again, speed in this dungeon is not an issue at all if you're going for the Trifecta achievement. Other than that, there's not much else to say other than what the priority ads are. You have Ogrims, you have Daedroth, you get something like an Ash Titan at the end when you break the last one. The tank should just taunt all of the big ads as usual and turn them away from the group, and you should drop ultimates at will on those ad pulls. Other than that, that is pretty much the entire fight. The Cauldron hard mode is one of the easier DLC dungeon hard modes in recent history for ESO. For this fight, I do need to be able to move quickly as the tank while blocking, so I do put race against time to give myself major expedition and to remove any negative effects. And on my front bar, I put on defensive stance because there are a lot of ads that can drain your stamina and magicka while you're blocking fairly quickly, and defensive stance drops that block cost by 10%. I mentioned early in the video that I'm wearing 2 sets that generate ultimate for the group, Arcasis and Drake's Rush. With those 2 sets, in the first 30 seconds of any boss fight, I can give my group members over 140 ultimate each. Not to mention the ultimate they generate themselves. What this allows us to do is ulti dump in the beginning, get ultimate back really quickly, and then ulti dump again, and then just keep doing it over and over and over again for the entire fight. This is particularly useful in this fight because there are specific phases where we want to drop our ultimates to clean up all of the ads. Conveniently, the rate at which our group members get their ultimates lines up pretty well with when we actually want to drop them. So we're going to get flame laser phases, and when we get the flame laser phases, the ads tend to pile up. So when we see our first laser phase in a second here, we're all going to move right. You'll notice that I'm going to run about 180 degrees from where that laser spawns and then stop and hold the boss there. The ads will slowly start trickling in around that point, and our DPS are just going to be there waiting. Soon we're going to drop our ultimates as soon as we get all the ads in the area. That's going to clean most of them up for the most part. There'll be usually a couple of stragglers who have a lot of health, but then we're going to get another laser phase, in which case we're going to go in the opposite direction. And then again, I run about halfway around, I stop, The entire time I am proccing my Arcasis by dropping potions whenever they're available, and bashing every 18 seconds to give major heroism. But again, now we're going to go left. I'm going to rotate about halfway around the circle, and then I'm just going to stop. Our DPS are going to wait there, and we're going to wait for the ads, and we're going to drop all of our ultimates again. And again, conveniently, we will have probably one, if not two, destruction ultimates available every time, not to mention a Colossus from me and a Warhorn from our healer. That's going to really trivialize this fight. The other mechanics that are important here to avoid the no-death, in addition to just avoiding the flames, are the pillars. We can break those pillars with a single light attack if people grab that Cold Flame Infusion synergy, which also slightly increases the damage for the DPS. But if you have good enough DPS and you're dropping ultimates all the time, then you don't even really need to break the pillars, because the flame laser is going to break the pillars for you. So they can't really pile up, because the rate at which we get those flame laser mechanics is going to be fast because of all the damage we're doing to the boss. So our group has pretty much just ignored them and let our cleave take them down with ultimates and with all the AoEs that we use. If you've been paying attention to the ultimate numbers in this fight, again, you can see just how fast our group, or me in particular, generates ultimate to drop my Colossus. It's a really cool setup, and if you're a tank, I definitely recommend messing around with it in 4-man, because Arcasis and Drake's Rush are both really fun to use with the group, because you can seemingly drop ultimates at will. So that being said, that's about all we need to do to get this Trifecta, is wear those two sets, have some pretty good DPS, and just avoid those lasers, and just enjoy the simplicity of the fight, as well as all of the visual things that are going on. So that being said, I will be quiet now, and you can enjoy the last 15% or so of this fight. As you can see here, we got the Trifecta achievement, and we unlocked a new title, Subterranean Smasher. If you like this video, or like tanking content in general, or want to learn different 4-man strategies, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and feel free to like this video and leave a comment below as well.